This is Carrie Johnson with the Iowa Department of Management, and this is going to be a brief webinar to familiarize and provide reminders regarding the fiscal 22 Ag Extension online budget process. So first we'll start out with just some reminders about general budget information, timelines, that sort of thing. So to complete the Department of Management budget forms, you would need to go to our website, and that's dom.iowa.gov /agricultural-ext-district. You can also go over from the main page, go over to other levy authorities and find Ag Extension that way. So a couple options there, but this is going to bring you to the page that has links to our website where you go to actually complete the budget forms and also some general information. Some of the general information you will find there are past year's tax rates. You can select any starting with the current year, and it goes back several years. And this just provides you with a summary of the tax rates by fund for all the different ag extension districts in the state if you're looking for some historical information or to compare your tax rate to another county, etc. And this is what the document looks like if you were to select one. Again, it's an Excel file that you can download to your machine and modify and crunch numbers if you would be interested in that. So what is the Department of Management's role in the process? Department of Management provides the forms, including these web-based forms. We provide instructions. We provide technical assistance. So if you have questions about what something means on the form, etc. And we provide that assistance for all the local governments that submit budgets and levy property tax. And so this is just sort of a screenshot of what one of the budget forms looks like. So for ag extensions, your main property tax levy is the Extension Education Fund. And the levy limits and taxation limits for this fund depend on the population of the district and whether or not there's been a successful referendum authorizing regular limits to be exceeded. And the Code of Iowa section that you'd want to look at is 176A10. The maximum tax includes both the property tax and utility replacement tax asking. It's, what is your tax asking that you're going to enter on the form? Additionally, if you had passed a referendum and it specified a lower limit than what was available, then that would show, the lower limit would apply in that case. And this is just for fiscal year 22. You'll also find this in your instruction document. This lists your levy limits here on this column. At this point, I do believe there are no counties operating without a referendum, but if at some point in the future that would be the case, then these would be the limits that would apply. You also have available to you, if applicable, the Unemployment Compensation Levy. Section 9631 of the code provides that a political subdivision may levy a tax to pay for the cost of unemployment benefits. You also have a tort liability levy under Chapter 670. It authorized the purchase of liability insurance, and the premium of such insurance can be paid from the Ag Extension Fund, or if that's not sufficient, then you can levy separately. If you have a package insurance policy, only the tort liability premium is paid from that tort liability levy, and there's some different examples included here regarding what you might find underneath that levy. The levy may also be used for the payment of a judgment or settlement within Chapter 670. The budget deadline this upcoming year for fiscal 22 budgets, it would be calendar year 21, March 2021, and it would be March 15th as a Monday. And protesting local government budgets is always an option for citizens. It is covered under Code of Iowa, Section 2427. Persons affected by the proposed levy, the budget, expenditure, etc., or by any item within the budget can appeal the budget by filing a petition and appeal with a county auditor. So they gather signatures and then they file that with the county auditor of the county that they're located in. And the deadline for that budget protest is March 25th. So the county auditor would receive this protest document. The number of signatures is determined by a specific calculation of folks that voted in that area on the election for governor. And so the county auditor would take a look at the signatures, make sure there's enough signatures and that the petition is complete, and then they would forward that protest document to the State Appeal Board. The State Appeal Board is a 3-member body of the Director of Department of Management, the State Treasurer, and the State Auditor. Upon receipt of this appeal document, they would then schedule a local public hearing on the budget protest that would be held, in the county in which this protest happened. And typically they send out hearing officers, so staff, to go attend this public hearing and gather comments from the public, as well as hear the protesters' argument and the rebuttal of the entity that's being protested. They would gather all that information, bring it back to the State Appeal Board, and the State Appeal Board would then render a decision on the budget protest, either, finding issues with the budget and suggesting corrections, or leaving the budget as is, etc. If you have any questions about the budget protest process, please feel free to contact me. Budget amendments. During a year, a budget amendment is required for any increase in the totals for a fund, and you amend the year that you're in. Your current year budget is the budget that you can amend. And the amendment must be effective before any of the expenditure amounts are exceeded. Budget amendments require the same notice and hearing procedures as required for the adoption of the original budget. So not less than 10, no more than 20 days notice, published in your paper to make people aware that you're going to hold a hearing on this proposed budget amendment. And again, it's only for expenditures. And so you'd hold your hearing, your board would then act on the amendment to approve or modify it, etc. Budget amendments are also subject to protest, just like a regular budget, and an amendment of a budget after May 31st in a year, which is properly protested but without time for hearing and decision on the protest by June 30th, is void. So all that means is obviously you can amend any time during the current year you're in. You can amend that current year budget during that time. But if you get so close to the end of the fiscal year, you're after May 31st, and then someone protests it, well, there's not going to be time for that protest to gather information, to schedule a local public hearing, for the appeal board to hear all the different information about the protest and render a decision before the end of the fiscal year actually happens. So then that would make it void. So that's something to be aware of. The budget amendment form used to be an old sort of one-page Word document that was generic, and you would, modify it to your needs. Now it's actually found by logging into the same online system that you use to adopt your budget. So you're going to be completing any budget amendment actually within the same system. And you're actually going to go to that budget, your current year budget, and select amend. And what it'll do then is generate a form. It doesn't open up your budget again, but it generates a form then to use as an amendment. And it's a simple form as before, but it is already tailored to your specific entity. So it's going to look similar to your budget public hearing form. And it will pull forward for you your expenditures by fund, and it'll already have those populated. So that's just something to be aware of if you get into a situation where you think you're going to have to amend your current year budget. A webinar on the amendment process is viewable on that Ag Extension District resources page. So if you find yourself during the year, you're going to need to do an amendment, I would suggest highly you just go and watch the webinar to give you some familiarity. And then also in the budget system itself, once you click on amend and you generate that form, there's a set of instructions there as well. So just kind of be aware of that. So I want to take a few moments to refresh your memory regarding the online budget system. It is the same as it was in fiscal 21, which was new for that year. Your login access should transfer from last year, but if you have someone that needs access that doesn't have it or needs to be removed, etc., please let me know. Again, if you use the tab key during data entry, it moves between the cells where you can enter data. You can also use the arrow keys side to side and up and down. Ending fund balances are produced by subtracting the sum of all expenditures from the sum of beginning balance plus revenue. And as you move within a page, the cell that you're in will be highlighted and the row and column shows a green highlight just to sort of help you kind of keep your place in the forms as you're working through them. So to log in, again, you go to that Ag Extension Resources page. You'll see a blue budget that now says Submit and Amend Budget, because as I mentioned, you can now amend your budget in the current system instead of using the old one-page generic form. So you select that, it'll bring you to where you log in using your same Enterprise A&A account ID. You will see on this main page the listing of folks that have filed, counties that have filed their valuations. So, you can't completely do your budget process until your local county has filed their valuations. That's needed for you to for the system to calculate your tax rate. You can go in and enter revenues and other revenues and expenditures and do some work in the system, but you can't actually, fully complete your budget until valuations are filed. And this homepage will just list for you whether or not your county has filed their valuations at this point. And so again, you log in using your Enterprise A&A account ID. And you see on the home page what's available to you. So if you're just an Ag Extension budget submitter, you'll see budgets and reports. Your current year budget as well, if you select budgets, your current year budget as well as the budget you are going to be creating are displayed. So again, the system was new in fiscal 21, so you can go back and view that 21 budget by selecting edit. You can't, it's just going to let you get into the budget. You can print pages, etc., but you're not actually modifying that 21 budget. You can, however, click the amend button to generate an amendment form for that 21 budget. And then to get into the fiscal 22 budget, you'd select edit to actually get into it and make your changes. Once inside the budget, you see the tabs across the top that represent the different funds and different pages that you're going to be working on. Data entered on the fund tabs and tax request pull over to the adopted budget summary. That also populates the public hearing tab and the remainder of the adopted budget summary tab. So when you click on, say, one of your fund type tabs, you'll see a revenue and expenditure tab within them. So you'll go through and enter all the revenues for the 3 fiscal years that you're looking at. Also the expenditures for the 3 fiscal years that you're looking at. Keep in mind, budget forms are required statutorily to reflect the year that ended, the year that you're in, your current year, and what you anticipate your budget to be for the next fiscal year. Tort Liability Fund, again, looks similar to this. And this should seem very familiar to last fiscal year, last budget that you worked on. Unemployment compensation, again, revenue and expenditures as different tabs. So we talked a little bit about needing valuations to complete your budget. And once those 2020 valuations are filed in your county, the fiscal 22 valuation figures that you need for your budget will populate in the system. Until valuations are filed, or if the county would happen to unfile values and do some corrections and refile again, you would see the following notice on the top of your budget forms. So if you're seeing this notice, it means that your valuations are not in filed status. So either the county auditor has not yet filed valuations, or they had to unfile the valuations in order to maybe make a correction, and then they will refile. And during that time that the valuations are in unfiled status, you'll see this notification. It's just an alert to you that there's something going on with valuations, and you can't consider your budget to be ready for publication and good to go because there may be a change with your values. If you have any questions, you're seeing that notification and you have any questions, certainly contact your county auditor's office. They can let you know if there's something going on with valuations or where that process stands. So again, you need your valuations to be populated in order to enter your tax dollar request that we talked about. We talked about those maximums based on population. You need to have valuations in order to enter your tax request and have the system calculate for you a tax rate. And this is on that adopted budget summary page where this calculation happens. When you're working in the budget, at any time, you can check errors, you can save, and I do suggest you do that often. You can also print the full budget at any time. You can print the full budget, and then after you actually propose your budget and get that public hearing notice, you can also print only the publication notice if you would so choose. And you do that by going over to that print option. You can either do print publication notice or print full budget. In Google Chrome, you can select your local printer. You can also save to PDF as your destination. So that way you get a hard copy that you can shoot to your newspaper, or however you deliver that. You can save a PDF version to your machine, etc. And again, you're going to enter the revenue and expense detail in the supplementary detail sheets. And the data on those sheets is going to transfer to that adopted budget summary in your hearing tab. So once you complete your budget, then it will transfer that data over to that hearing notice. So what you publish has all the data that you need. If you do want to include electronic or virtual meeting information on your notice, you can do that within the location when you type in your meeting information, but there is also a text box on the bottom of the public hearing tab to add information as well. I know sometimes there's extensive information regarding virtual meetings, so if you find that it's not fitting within that location tab, you can use the tab at the bottom, and that will be on your hearing notice. You cannot publish your budget if you have errors, so make sure to check errors. And it will tell you if there's any errors or warnings. And if you have no errors, it's going to look like this: congratulations, no errors, and you can proceed. So when you're error-free, you can propose and publish your budget to obtain that public hearing notice. So you get a screen to enter the time, date, and place of your hearing and the contact information. Again, meeting location box is pretty large. You can enter quite a bit there, but again, you have that option alternatively to use that virtual box if you find that's not enough room. The system then generates a notice you can print or save to your system, as I mentioned, and you can also access it at any time after proposing by going to the print. Following the public hearing, the council may make any allowable revisions. They can decrease a tax asking or decrease expenditures to the budget by going in and selecting return to draft, which just essentially opens your budget for errors again, or for edits again, and you make your changes. Then you will have to propose and publish the budget again. Although, if you're just decreasing tax asking or expenditures, obviously you don't have to publish and hold a new hearing. Or for any other reason, there may be cases where you're actually having to republish. So for instance, you have to set a new public hearing date. So in most cases, if you're not setting a new public hearing date, you're just going to return to draft and enter that original information for the proposed publish, your original hearing date information. That won't change. And then you can move forward. But if you are, of course, holding a new public hearing, you return to draft and enter the new public hearing information when you propose publish. But if everything's good, then you are ready to adopt. So you select that options. If no revisions are needed, you just click adopt to proceed with the budget as currently presented, enter that adoption date, and then select adopt. So if you've adopted it in the system, then you're going to go to your county auditor's office and file the filing documents. You're going to give them a proof of publication for that budget notice, and then a signed adopted budget. That adopted budget summary has a place for signatures and all your supplementary pages. If you have any questions at all regarding the budget process in the Department of Management system, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.